everyone. It's Elizabeth from Alpes Astrology at alpesastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today. So today I'm going to do my take on the May 2023 astrology. But as always, you have free will to decide what you want to do. These are just a few of my observations for this month. So we've got the eclipse season continuing with an eclipse in Scorpio. And that's a full moon. We have a new moon in Taurus. And then we have a retrograde that will continue through part of May and then end later on in May. And Pluto will also go retrograde. So there's a lot of kind of things, a lot of moving parts in May that I think are going to be important for us to literally pay attention to. So let's start off with the 2nd of May. So on the 2nd of May, we have Pluto going retrograde at 0 degrees and 21 minutes of Aquarius. Remember that Pluto has entered into Aquarius, right? For at least a short period of time. And then it will make its way back into the very last degree of Capricorn for this year and part of next year too. So that's interesting that we've got Pluto going retrograde. Now this, I think, could, especially since Pluto is one of the rulers of the Scorpio eclipse that we have happening a couple days after the retrograde. So I think I get the impression that this is going to be some kind of pullback from people in power, where maybe they promised something to the collective, that's Aquarius, and the people, and they changed their minds. And they may even take it as far as, putting martial forces in place to control the people, perhaps. Because we're talking about Aquarius here, right? And then Pluto is power. So I see someone going back on their word and deciding to use their power instead against the people instead of for the people. That's what I see this Pluto retrograde still in Aquarius to be on the 2nd of May. So we've got our first lunation, which is going to be a full moon eclipse, and it is going to be on the 5th of May. It will be at 14 Scorpio, 58 minutes at 10:34 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Some of the aspects that we've got Uranus will be in the mix too from an opposition standpoint, widely in the opposite sign of Taurus. And of course, we're going to have the Sun in Taurus as well. Mercury will be retrograde at 8 degrees. What else have we got on? That Mercury retrograde will be sextiling Saturn. And I would say that this may be some kind of aspect that, because it's a Mercury retrograde sextiling Saturn, we may have to rethink some things, and we may not be hearing. I get hearing more than communicating. Hearing things correctly. It is a sextile aspect, so I suspect that there may be other positive things going on here that maybe making a mistake in communications with the Mercury retrograde, that you actually get to change maybe somebody's mind that's above you. Saturn can be, of course, a superior above us, like a manager or a director type thing. But the other thing, too, is this aspect of Mercury sextiling Saturn. It can also lend itself to the idea of learning things. Now, I know it's a retrograde, but if you think about it, learning is very much of a back and forth process. So certainly if you around this full moon eclipse on the 5th of May have some learning to do, that's a good aspect to support it or to wrap things up maybe a bit too. We have Venus in Gemini will be squaring Neptune in Pisces. So this is really daydreaming, but it can bring in a lot of artistic inspiration, especially with regards to music and dance. But on the negative side, this can bring in some disappointment in love. Now, with Venus in Gemini, I always view this type of thing as being more flirtatious. So maybe something that's flirtatious just is that, and it doesn't go anywhere. But it made you maybe have a fantasy of some sort that could have come true. Doesn't mean in the future it won't. It's just that there may be some little bit of the rose-colored glasses coming off. We have Saturn will be trining the South Node and sextiling the North Node. We have Venus will be sextiling, because Venus is in Gemini, will be sextiling Jupiter, which is still at this time going to be in Aries. And then we have Mars, which is now in Cancer at 21 degrees. Not the best place for Mars necessarily, but it'll certainly make us more protective of our families, the people we love, even our homeland. So on a sort of a generalized level, this could bring in more activity with regards to protecting our homeland. And yeah, Mars in Cancer is in its fall as well. So what it does, the effect of having a planet in its fall really restricts the energy. And of course, Mars is all about energy and a movement forward, that sort of thing. So there may be some kind of restrictions there with this placement as it is in its fall at this point. Now, the ruler of this full moon eclipse in Scorpio, they've got two rulers, but the modern ruler, of course, is Pluto. And we've just had Pluto go retrograde. So I would say just from that effect alone, and then we've got, of course, Mars in its fall. That's the other ruler of Scorpio in Cancer. So that the two rulers being in ostensibly weakened positions is not positive in terms of supporting this full moon eclipse. So there may be some, I would say, disappointments of some sort coming in with regards to maybe some feelings that you've had. Maybe you've had some deep feelings with regards to something or someone. And especially with that Venus squaring Neptune, it becomes clear that that's not going to be going anywhere, at least not right now. But, you know, Scorpio is a very deep sign. It feels things deeply. It can take offense when maybe no offense was meant. So I would say at this full moon, try not to get too obsessive. Avoid the compulsive side of Scorpio. And the biggest one is that possession type thing. Try, if something is leaving your life, so that's a very Pluto thing, or especially with this Pluto retrograde, something may be leaving your life and you may not want it to go. I understand. But if there is something leaving your life or evolving or transforming into something that is no longer going to be part of your life, try to look at the positive side, not the negative side, not that you're losing something, but that you've reached a stage of transformation with whatever that is, whether it's a person, a job that you're in, a place that you live in, a relationship that you're in, that the natural corollary of this might be to let go and to move on. I really get that strongly. It's a full moon. Eclipses can go either way. It doesn't have to be everything ends, but I get this very distinctive kind of full stop with this full moon. Because Scorpio is very much to do with death and rebirth too, there could be that sort of element or tone around this too, this death and rebirth type thing. And it doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can be that, you know, that phoenix arises from the ashes. For those that take the lessons of Scorpio in a useful way, you know, Scorpio is many things. It's the lower things like a snake or a scorpion, but it's also the higher things like an eagle and the phoenix arising out of difficult times. So this could also represent that for some people, especially I would say for Scorpios. I would say this might be true too. You are going to have the sun in the opposite sign, which is Taurus. And in many ways, the opposite sign, Taurus, has a lot more activity, not only right now, but as we progress through May. At this point in time with the full moon eclipse, we have, which still have Uranus in there, in sort of more the latter degrees. of Taurus. We've got the Sun in there, and then, of course, we've got a Mercury retrograde in there. So these are all adding, in my mind, potential, especially that Mercury retrograde, potential for some confusion. So if you're confused about something, and especially if that confusion goes to you feeling obsessive, possessive, and wanting to control things, try to let go of that. I mean, even seek therapy if you need it. If you've got good friends or family that you can depend on and trust, maybe go to them if you're really feeling you're being affected by this. It's a pretty intense full moon eclipse, I would say. And it does mark the end of the series of eclipses that were in both Scorpio and Taurus. We still have another Taurus eclipse to happen in October this year, which will wrap up that Taurus part of it. I guess that's what I'm seeing here, is that the whole Venus sextile in Jupiter, though, is very good. That says to me opportunities to make money. And of course, both Taurus and Scorpio are money signs, right? So I think overall, this month of May could have maybe even some drama come in with regards to the money markets, maybe our own money. Big changes, I think, are going to happen. And with Uranus being in the opposite sign, going back to this eclipse, and the Sun being in there, I would say that there could be some surprises afoot here, for sure. And then the Mercury retrograde, take care with anything with regards to signing, say, documents for a new investment, that sort of thing. Yeah. Okay. Let's go on to the 13th to the 16th of May. We have at this time Jupiter, and Jupiter's a very lucky planet. It likes to expand anything it touches. It likes to grow things. And it's always viewed as a lucky type of planet and benefits to accompany its movement. So at that time, we have Jupiter at 29 degrees of Aries, and that, of course, is activating the eclipse that we had around the 20th, 19th, and 20th of April. And so if you've got something in your chart, if that eclipse at 29 degrees of Aries in April is activated in your chart, I would say that this is going to be another real growth of whatever happened at that time with Jupiter sitting on top of that eclipse. It's definitely going to grow some things here. And I would say it's going to grow things maybe even exponentially, as well as bringing in some benefits for you too. Now, this can represent a teacher or an advisor, or you could be the teacher or advisor. And maybe there really will actually be some folks, maybe some Aries folks that become teachers at this time or become advisors and take on a new role as a result of whatever happened at that eclipse in April. On the 19th, we have our second lunation. And it's just going to be a new moon in Taurus. It's not an eclipse. But it is at 28 degrees of Taurus and 25 minutes. It's at 8:53 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on the 19th of May. I liked this new moon in Taurus. I think it's got a lot of nice aspects surrounding it. For instance, we have it sextiling Mars in Cancer. We now have Mercury going direct. And then, of course, the Sun and the Moon are together at this time at all new moons. And it sextiles Neptune. And then the other thing is, this new moon, that moon is exalted in Taurus. So this adds so many lovely benefits here, right? We have Mercury going direct, as I mentioned, at 6 degrees, will be sextiling Saturn. So this could clear up some misunderstandings that may have happened earlier on in May, where you get to another chance. So sextiles are chances or opportunities to maybe clear something up with superiors that confused somebody, or you got confusing messages, and you can get your manager or director to clear up some things for you. But that's what I got with now this Mercury going direct for sure. Now, the other thing that's going to happen, of course, is Jupiter. We talked about Jupiter being in Aries for so long. At this new moon, we have Jupiter now ingressing into Taurus as well, and conjuncting the north nodes. So I would say that take a look at my video. I'll put the link below if you wish to do that. I did do a whole Jupiter in Taurus video, and you may find that useful because I go into a lot more details about what does it mean with Jupiter in Taurus. And then I go into each of the signs and ascendants. But for me, this conjunction with the north nodes lends itself to the idea of our future. Our future is more patently clear in front of us. And we're talking about 0 degrees here too. So these are new, fresh things, new beginning energies. And certainly with Taurus, I mean, it could literally be a time when we see an increase in food products. That could be happening here. Or new beneficial ways to grow our food come to light at this time. And that may develop over the whole time period that Jupiter is in Taurus. So Jupiter will be in Taurus mid-May 2023 to mid-May 2024. Now, the ruler of that new moon, of course, is going to be Venus. And Venus is in Cancer at 12, it looks like 12 degrees, 59 minutes. So we have here at least a nice, it's not an exact sextile, but certainly Taurus does as a sign sextile Cancer here. And so it's not a bad place to actually have Venus, the ruler of this new moon, in Cancer. I would say this is females being protective. So maybe as a general overarching energy, we see a lot more effort by females put in to protect their family, to protect those they love, and again, with Cancer going back to the motherland, to protect their country. But it could be the rise of females here. They take on some kind of new role. Now, Venus can also rule, because these are money signs, that Venus itself can rule love as well as money and values. So I'm wondering at this new moon if there's going to be some kind of new introduction of maybe new money systems in different homelands, right? With Cancer representing the homeland. That could be something that happens as a new start at this time. The other thing that I got too with, now we have a Mercury going direct, sextiling Saturn. I got that transit as a possible tying up of loose ends. That's what I got here. So maybe something happened at the full moon eclipse for some folks that was either maybe intense and not necessarily confusing, although there may have been some mix-up because at that eclipse, we had Mercury retrograde. This I see taking the time, that's Saturn, and putting some time and consideration into tying up those loose ends that maybe were too loose at the beginning of the month of May, and tying those up neatly. Maybe also to a degree of making them more enduring, not having them just be there as things and ideas, but maybe putting ideas into an enduring form of some sort. I mean, that can literally mean a contract. So for some folks, that might be exactly what happens, right? Yeah. So I really liked this new moon in Taurus. I think that it really brings in a newness with regards to foodstuffs, like I talked about. It can bring in newness with regards to our money markets, that sort of thing. And of course, because the ruler is Venus, love can be in the mix here too. And certainly with Venus being in Cancer, it's going to be an energy of I want to be nurtured type of love. And maybe even a protective kind of love, where you want to feel safe, secure, and nurtured. All right, on the 20th, we have Mars going into Leo. And I think that's kind of cool too. That's like, let's just say Mars is a man going into Leo. They're not afraid to strut their stuff on the stage and make a spectacle of themselves, right? So we could see a little bit of that happening around the 20th too. Egos could be pretty high at this time. I mean, certainly Mars going into very much an ego type of sign, Leo. We could definitely have some egos getting pretty big here. It could also have some people too deciding that they assertively seek out and make it known who they love. On the 21st, so the next day, we have the sun then going into Gemini. And Gemini is a mutable sign. It likes to have a lot of friends. It likes collecting a lot of facts and information. But it very much likes to flit here and there. It's very sociable. It's the sign, one of the signs of the diplomat. It's just a different energy. I think it's a lighter energy and may help us come off that full moon eclipse more easily, where maybe we do some more socializing and having fun with our friends, that type of thing. On the 25th, we have a very nice aspect of Venus sextiling Uranus. So this could have sudden infatuations, or at least opportunities for that. People have opportunities to fall in love suddenly. It can be that, like, you see somebody across the room and you're both, your eyes light up and you're magnetically drawn. Certainly magnetically drawn is a good way to describe a Venus sextile Uranus. But I think this can also, because this whole month of May has this big influence of Scorpio and Taurus, which are money signs, I think this could also have some interesting opportunities for some people to maybe make some money. Or at least to make some changes, right? Uranus is about sudden, unexpected energy coming in, and it could be some opportunities to make some positive changes with regards to money. That's on the 25th of May. Also on that day, we talked about Mars going into Leo. Leo will be squaring Jupiter in Taurus. And so I really saw this as kind of like a butting of heads. Saturn is a fixed, or not Saturn, but Taurus is a fixed sign. And it doesn't like a lot of change. Mars likes to take action, and with the square, it's being prevented from taking action. So there's some kind of, there's a workaround that has to happen here with regards to, and actually I saw this because both Leo as a sign rules royalty, and then Jupiter as a planet rules royalty. I saw this as some kind of little tussle with regards to the royal family, and it could be the one we normally talk about, which is, the UK, but it could be other royal families too. And some of those do have, well, certainly, we do have Leo featuring in Charles's chart. So this could be Charles taking some kind of action here, where he's preventing some folks maybe in the royal family from doing something. I know we've got stuff in the press already. I'm just reading, though, the aspect here. But just as an aspect on its own, it's preventing things from expanding and stopping risks. So we could say, well, how could we generalize that? We can generalize that to the money markets, where action is taken on the world stage to prevent any risks being taken in the money markets. That could be there. So on the 27th, with the sun now in Gemini, it will be squaring Saturn. And so this is kind of ending the month here with to me, I took this as a caution. Gemini is all about communicating, collecting information, that sort of thing. Not necessarily collecting important information, but they could. And then, of course, Saturn is more learning our lessons. It's karma and it's time. So I think it's time, first of all, time for us to look at the facts, Gemini. And it's also time for us to be serious about what these facts mean. And I think this whole month of May, as I said before, relates to the money market systems. For others, it could for sure refer to your value system, right? And it can also refer to love too. But generally speaking, I see this month as the whole area of money, whether it's investments, the money that you make, the money you spend, that type of thing. And so this is just asking us to pay attention to the facts that are in front of us. Gemini also asks us to work with another, right? So it could have, maybe in some instances, people have to work with people in authority that they don't want to work with. They'd rather be off socializing or, enjoying themselves with their friends. But I think it's just, I got this as a wake-up call that we have to pay attention to the facts and not be living in a dreamland. And there's nothing wrong with looking at things realistically, right? This is being realistic at the end of the month. So when we look at June, both Venus and Mars are going to be in the lovely sign of Leo. So you can expect June to be full of lots of drama. I mean, a lot of drama. And some of it could be very enjoyable, especially for those falling in love, because Leo does rule true love, right? Now, the other thing is that Venus that is going to be in Leo will be in its shadow at 12 degrees of Leo. So for some folks, you may have a foreshadowing literally in June with regards to what? With regards to love, first and foremost. So that means relationships, money, and the values, especially the value of yourself. All three of those could be up, especially as we get into June, July, and August, when we have that whole Venus retrograde. I did a whole video on it. I'll put that link below too if you want to look at it. But I'll talk more about it too when I get into the June, July time period videos, right? We'll have a full moon in Sagittarius and we'll have a new moon in Gemini. Now, both of these are mutable signs, so they are flexible. They're willing to roll a little bit more with the punches. So I would say June will be more flexibility to some extent. But both of those signs do square Pisces, which of course is where Saturn is. So there may be some challenges for some Sagittarians and Geminis in June. All right, well, we'll talk more about that in the future. All right, so next what I'm going to do is to go into each of the sun signs and or ascendants. You can read for either, whichever really resonates with you is the real answer when people ask. My preference, if you ask my preference, is for you to read or listen to your ascendant first, because that gives you the area of your life, generally speaking. And of course, I'm using whole house system here, or equal house system, when I do these general predictions, and they are general predictions. You really have to know your chart really well and look at it carefully to get a true reading for yourself. Okay. When we look at, we're going to do Taurus. Taurus, you have that full moon eclipse with the sun in your sign, but opposite that is where the moon will be in Scorpio at 14 degrees. And so that's your 7th house, is where this moon will be lit up. So I would say for Taurians, especially if you've got something around the 14 degree mark of, say your sun is at 14 degrees of Taurus, or you have something at 14 degrees where this eclipse is in Scorpio, pinging these things, you could have some big focus on a partner at this time. And I would say it could be something very intense. Now, it could be intense from the standpoint of deep passion, for sure. A full moon could bring that too. But with the Mercury retrograde there, And you still have, Uranus in your sign, the Mercury retrograde in your sign, the ruler going retrograde at this time. I think there's a possibility here of some sort of heated passions and maybe, a not considered reaction. So it's almost like this knee-jerk reaction is a setup for the way this eclipse is positioned with all the different things in it. So my advice would be for you, Taurus, is if there's anything that comes up with regards to your partner, try to be objective about it. Certainly take down and look at the information that's happening. If a partner is delivering information to you that maybe makes you feel more than normal upset, try to see the positive side of it and try to see what you can do to help yourself through this time. Don't look to your partner to change. This would be a time when you may have to consider, Taurus, changing what you're doing with regards to what a partner is either showing you or telling you or saying to you at this time. But there's a lot of emotions swirling around, certainly for you, Taurus, at this time. I mean, it could be that it's just your partner that has all this happening, and this maelstrom of, I'm going to get this sort of tornado going around. The tornado could be going around, Taurus, with your partner or around your partner, and you're, just by the fact of the energy going around, you're affected by it. Now, with the Mercury retrograde in your sign, take care with what you say, whether it's in messages, emails, text, what you say. You may even have to do consideration of how you're thinking. So, maybe just do that 10,000-foot view of, put yourself in the third person if something negative does come up at this time. Or even if something comes up that's very intense and passionate, try to be objective as best you can with regards to how it's affecting you emotionally. Now, the new moon will be in your sign. So this is your new moon, Taurus. So Happy New Year to you. A brand new start. And certainly if you've got something like your sun or your ascendant at 8 degrees of Taurus, this new moon effect can be lasting for at least 6 months. Also at this time, you've got Jupiter now going into Taurus. Yay. So that's giving you, Taurus, for the first time in 12 years, a whole year of great benefits, great expansion, wherever you actually have significant placements of Taurus, your sun, your ascendant, or anything else. There could be some lucky things happening for you there. Certainly expansion and growth. And then Mercury will be going direct at this time. So any maybe misplaced words, maybe things that you shouldn't have said, or maybe how somebody misunderstood you, and maybe even writing of some sort, you get a chance to correct it with Mercury now going direct at this new moon, because the new moon's all about you. So know that when that new moon happens, let's go over that again. That's going to be the 19th of May. For a lot of Taurians, this is a good correction time where you can actually correct whatever was maybe misunderstood. And of course, that'll be sextiling Saturn. So it can be putting in some, this could be for some Taurians where you literally are signing contracts, right? Mercury direct, sextiling Saturn. Or maybe even just taking up some sort of new learning, learning some new skills at this time. If you were to pick a time in the month, Taurus, it would be good at the new moon from lots of standpoints. The fact that it's a new moon, the fact that it's in your sign, and the fact that Mercury in your sign is going direct, sextiling Saturn. And Neptune will be sextiling that new moon too. So this could put some sort of, I get the feeling of like fairy dust and magic, right? And maybe even some opportunities to have some dreams come true at that new moon, some kind of new start for yourself. It's your first house. Take care, Taurus. So for Gemini, that full moon eclipse in Scorpio will be in your 6th house. And of course, the moon will be there, but then the sun is going to be in your 12th house. And of course, at this time, Saturn will be squaring your sign. So I would say that the full moon eclipse is going to bring something to light with regards to your health and or your day-to-day job. If you don't work, it'll be the day-to-day things that you do. There will be some kind of big light shone on it. And it could be an emotional time for you with regards to those areas of your life. For some, it could be you ending a job of some sort because or the way you do your day-to-day job. For others, maybe if you have had bad health, there's a solution in sight and the end is nigh because of this full moon eclipse where, boom, you now get what it is. And you might be quite emotional at that time with what you learn, what comes to light for you in one or both of those areas. But with Saturn squaring your sign, Gemini, and Saturn will be squaring Gemini, for the next 2.5, 3 years, just use that energy of Saturn to use it as a building block to the way you think. Gemini is all about the thoughts. Saturn is all about putting things in a structure. So this says to me, this may be, and this could also be a learning thing too, right? It could be Geminis are, challenged to learn new ways of processing, thinking, looking at facts, looking at the way they think. That sort of thing could be like a longer term effect that starts, say, around May 2023 that lasts for almost 3 years. New ways of thinking. Yeah. Now, the new moon, which will have the moon and the sun in Taurus, is in your 12th house. And Mercury is going to be direct at that time. Uranus will also be in your 12th house, and so will Jupiter. And so it says a couple things to me, Gemini. It says that you may have some real luck working behind the scenes. It could have some kind of illumination for you. You could also do, I'm thinking with Jupiter as the teacher or advisor, especially as Jupiter as the teacher, it could have you, for whatever reason, teaching behind the scenes, or maybe teaching in the other things that the 12th house represents, which is hidden places. So that's any hidden place. But typically we say it could be hospitals, ashrams, government offices, prisons. But just generally speaking, I get this feeling that it could be for some Geminis, this teaching behind the scenes as opposed to in front. And I guess this could be somebody that teaches, say, not directly in front of people, as we normally know teachers to be, but more is behind the scenes on putting things together. Maybe even putting some courses together or pieces of information together for someone to actually do the teaching of the course. That could be there too for some Geminis. But there could be a lot of luck with that. So whatever does come up with you, Gemini, pay attention to it. But it could also make it easy for you to see some enlightenment here. The 12th house can be kind of a shadow house in some ways. It is a metaphysical house too. So it could have some other folks deciding to go into the metaphysical world and start literally reading books, going to lectures and that sort of thing. That would be a lovely way to use this new moon. But for others, I really see this as this big spotlight potentially being going over all the hidden recesses of your life and asking you to look at them and clean them up and get rid of what you need to get rid of. And this is something I always, suggest to my clients. If you don't know where to start with a drawer. Start cleaning out a drawer that needs to be cleaned out. go into your closet and just do an initial cleanup of your closet. What that does is it sets up the idea in your mind of getting things in order. And so we want to get things in order, Gemini, in your head, in your subconscious, and make things cleaner for you and happier for you as well. Take care, Gemini. All right, Cancer. Cancer, this is kind of, I view this as actually a really nice month for you. You've got that full moon eclipse in Scorpio. And of course, that's going to trine your sign, and the 5th house is activated. So the 5th house represents true love. It represents creative projects. It represents you being your authentic self. It's your own business, games of chance. But I say, Cancer, it's also having fun. So kick your heels up a little bit at that full moon eclipse. And even though there may be intense things come in, try to put some of that intensity into having some fun in your life. But it could bring in, especially with Scorpio being very deep with the emotions, it could have some bubbling up in a positive way for some Cancers with regards to how deeply they feel about the love they have in their lives. And this can extend out to if you have children too, where there may be some deeply transformative emotional time that is brought up with regards to your children. But this is a lovely energy, the trine, right? So this is not a negative one. It's just favorable energy pouring in for you, Cancer. Now, in the opposite sign, which is where the sun is, that'll be your 11th house at that full moon eclipse. And we will also have Mercury there, which will be retrograde at the full moon eclipse. Again, I don't see this as a really negative thing of any sort. It's going to form a sextile with that aspect of your chart, the 11th house. It could be that friends and groups you belong to come in to provide maybe some fun for you, that provide maybe even some creative projects. For some Cancers, you may be working with groups or friends on some kind of creative projects at this time that are very positive. Certainly opportunities with the sextile, right? Now, the new moon in Taurus is going to be sextiling you, and it's going to be affecting your 11th house, which I just spoke about. So both the moon and the sun at this new moon in Taurus at 28 degrees is going to be in your 11th house of friends, groups you belong to. It's the money you earn from those folks that have your own business. Because we also have Jupiter going into Taurus at this time, and we have a Mercury direct, and all those things, especially the Mercury direct, does sextile Saturn. I would say, wow, for those Cancers that have their own business, there could be some really unique new opportunities here to make money. And look to friends and groups that you belong to assist with that. And of course, the 11th house is our hopes, dreams, wishes. So for others Cancers, this could be a new start in that area as well. Where you get to build, that's Taurus, to build out one of your dreams. Yeah, I mean, with that Mercury direct sextiling Saturn, this says to me also that this gives opportunities for you to take your thoughts and put them into something more of a structure. And of course, Taurus is the master builder, right? But Venus rules Taurus too, so this could have something to do with your love life as well, for some Taurians. For others, it may be you building your self-esteem to some point as it relates to your value system and value of yourself. You may put in some concrete action of some sort with regards to you valuing yourself. And because this is, both these lunations affect sort of the money areas of life, maybe this has you asking for more money, especially for those folks that have their own business. Now this moon and sun will be sextiling Neptune, And that's beautiful as well, because that also, in turn, I mean, Neptune is a water sign like you, Cancer, and it'll trine you. And so that's just beautiful energy with regards to being inspiration. You may feel great inspiration at this new moon, Cancer. Yeah, and that Jupiter will be in that 11th house too. You could have benefits come through your friends and groups you belong to, for sure. And some good luck with that new moon. And I think this is going to be tied into you earning more money for those that, have their own businesses. It could even have some Cancer starting their own business at this time. Very lucky time, I would say. And because Saturn is so well aspected here, both by just the sign and your sign, they're both water signs, Saturn being in Pisces, and the Mercury direct, signing contracts might be also a benefit to you, Cancer, too. Take care of yourself, Cancer. All right, Leo. So Leo, both these lunations this month form squares to you. And in particular, for the first one, the full moon in Scorpio, it forms a square with your 4th house. And we'll also have at that time, because the full moon has the sun in the opposite sign, the sun will be in the 10th house, so there'll be a square there too. I would say there may be some frustrations with regards to something in your home. For others, it might be your mother or your family and your career. So, I mean, a lot of times this plays out where there's big demands being put on you. In this case, it's the 4th house by your family or your home that makes it difficult to do your career. And with the sun in the 10th house at that full moon eclipse, it could be superiors, reach out to you and ask you to, defend yourself in some way. That square is going to ask you to be creative and think outside the box with regards to your career, Leo. Now, you are going to have the assistance of Jupiter later on in the month in that 10th house. So hang in there. For those Leos that have something, I don't know, maybe some little blow up of some sort at work with regards to, more than likely, because the sun's there, it could be a superior person. It could be just a misunderstanding, because at that eclipse, Leo, you're going to have a Mercury retrograde. So what can you do? If you know you've got to be presenting things, especially to people like bosses, around that full moon, so that's around the 5th, 6th of May, make darn sure that you've, dotted your I's and crossed your T's. Maybe go over your work, go over your presentation, maybe even show it to someone that you trust, and maybe they'll point out some big things that you missed. Or just be clear, because there's Mercury retrograde going on at that time, there could be miscommunications and misunderstandings at work, but also in the home. So that's a heads up. You can actually, for those that are going to be presenting or have to deal with people at work at that full moon eclipse, it's just Scorpio is such an emotional sign, and it's a very deep sign. It feels things very deeply, and it wants to hang on to things. It can be obsessive, possessive. And like I said earlier in this video, Scorpio can be the phoenix rising from the ashes, and certainly there could be some Leos that literally do rise out of that square and that challenge to become a phoenix. Don't doubt it. Don't doubt it. But your 4th house is more highlighted. It's just that it's both the 4th and the 10th house. Why? Because we've got the moon in one place, the 4th house, and we got the sun in the 10th house. So both are affected at that full moon eclipse, but more importantly, your 4th house. And for others, it may just be something happens in the home that's frustrating. That, I got to handle that too. And it's just maybe there could be burdens. Say you're having to do some remodeling in your home and everything's just not going to plan and you've got to put more effort into it. For others, it might be literally a family member, maybe your mother, is moving into your home. Or you have to deal with some aspect that's not straightforward, that's challenging with regards to your mother and or your family, whether they're coming to live with you or whether you're helping them in their home. And hey, that's the other way it could plan out. And there's a lot of people in this category where you've got to go into your family home and help out a family member. But that means you're going to have to sacrifice aspects of your career and your boss calls you on it. And so just be really clear, if I've not made this clear, Leo, with any communications with regards to managers, directors, and that in your career, in particular around that. Better to over-communicate than have potential for miscommunication or missed communication. Make sure your bosses are getting your messages. Okay, enough said. Let's go on to the next lunation, which is a lovely new moon in Taurus. I actually really like this new moon. It forms a square to you and it's in your 10th house. So this really does focus on your career, but it talks about a new beginning. You're going to have Uranus in there too. You're going to now have Mercury direct. The sun and moon will be sextiling Neptune, making things maybe inspirational for you. And you're also going to have Jupiter there. So wow, Leo, I know it's a square, so there may be some challenges you've got to overcome in your career as a result of some kind of new starts being put in place for you. But wow, you've got so many positive things on your side here. All the communications are going to be moving forward. Your mind is going to be able to literally build something. This is Taurus. And maybe you really will be constructing something. And then Jupiter being in Taurus in your, the only other thing that you could have coming in here, which you will eventually, is Saturn at the top of your chart. But you've got Jupiter in there at the top of your chart. And this is awesome. So you could have some really good luck come in here. You could also become a teacher of some sort or an advisor. That could be a prominent thing for you. Remember, Jupiter's about 12-year transit. So you could look to, say, 12 years ago and see what was happening for you because Jupiter was in Taurus at that time. But we didn't have things like a Mercury direct. We didn't have Uranus in there and have Taurus in there. So I'm just saying that there's a little extra things that would not have been there last time round 12 years ago when you had Jupiter in Taurus. But this does give you potential by having a lot of good luck and new benefits, great benefits in your career. Take advantage of that. This effect in your career zone is going to last for a year, Leo. So from mid-May 2023 to mid-May 2024, look out for some real benefits and good luck with regards to your career, especially as it's building your career, right? Taurus is the master builder. Connected with that whole Jupiter, it says, literally, fortunate ways of building your career, like literally when you translate the astrology. So you're going to next month, Leo, your next month of June is just going to be off the charts. That's all I've got to say. So in June, I'm just going to give you a little teaser. And I did do a video on this. I mentioned it earlier on in my video too. I did do a Venus retrograde in Leo. I would suggest that you listen to that. But yeah, next month, you're going to have both Mars and Venus in Leo, your sign, both going direct. Awesome. So I would look to June as going to be some kind of you being on the stage, Leo. You know, you're going to have a spotlight on the stage where you're going to, maybe even some fame, big or small, is going to be up for you, Leo. Something to look forward to in June. Take care, Leo. All right, Virgo. So Virgo, this is a good time for you as well. These two lunations, you've got a sextile happening with that full moon eclipse in Scorpio, and your third house is being affected by it. Now, the sun will be in the opposite house, which is the 9th house. So I would say, straight off, some Virgos, if you want to publish something, some writing that you've got that you want to publish, this is an opportunity to do that. Now, you may have a few challenges, especially with regards to the Mercury retrograde going on in the 9th house. So just make sure your communications are clear. that if you're signing any contracts, that you read everything carefully, get expert advice if you're not sure of what you're signing. But this could bring an opportunity where you can close off a writing project and literally get it published. And I mean, when we think about Scorpio, Scorpio is kind of like the mystery side of life. It literally is death and rebirth. It is the more emotional side of life, deep emotions. It's our psychological selves as well. So it deals with those types of things. So I'm thinking for some Virgos, if you've got something written that you want to get published, let's say is in the psychological realm or even the mystery realm, take advantage of that eclipse to make it happen. Just make sure you get communications correct and contracts correct. And that people are receiving your messages. That's the other thing. So don't give up if you don't hear from a publisher. Maybe they didn't get your message. Reach out again and maybe reach out again. All right, so when we look at the new moon, which I like in Taurus, that's going to be trine you. And it is in your 9th house, which is the 9th house of publishing. We just spoke about that. But the 9th house is also all foreign things, foreign people, foreign places, like foreign lands. It is the law. It is travel as well. So for some Virgos, you may be planning some travel at this time, some awesome travel. Maybe something that's going to really change your life in some way. That would be a good way to use this, is to look at some kind of travel that you want to do in 2023. And this brings in favorable energy to make that happen. Now, when we look at the other things that are in there, we have Uranus still in Taurus and will be for a few more years. We have Mercury going direct. So if there was any miscommunications regarding publishing something, any foreign connection, or even the law, that can all be cleared up at this new moon. And let's just talk about that. New moon is on the 19th of May. And I like it that Mercury's direct. So I really think there's whatever may happen at the beginning of the month that may be intense for you, Virgo, know that there'll be opportunities later on in the month, say around this new moon, to actually change people's minds, to change your mind, to correct any misunderstandings. And wow, maybe to get something published. We have Saturn that is in Pisces, and we also still have Neptune there too, opposing your sign, Virgo. And so I would say that, there's still this potential, especially with the Neptune, for confusion of some sort. Let's just hope it's instead, Neptune also rules inspiration. Let's just hope that you have some kind of hopeful inspiration with the influence of Saturn now there too. Saturn likes to put structure around things. It likes to make things real. And so maybe you could also, with Saturn being in Pisces, even though it's opposing your sign, Virgo, maybe you're going to have the opportunity to have some kind of enduring inspiration come in for you where maybe you can see your dreams coming true. Now, it's your 7th house we're talking about there, right, with Saturn. So maybe some inspirational dream come true with regards to partnerships. And this could be partnerships with regards to, say, marriage. It can be business partnerships. It can also be clients. Yeah, I like that. I like that opposition for you. I don't think it's going to be necessarily a bad thing because you've got the influence of Neptune still there too. Wanting to make dreams come true. We can talk about that more later. Saturn has just entered into Pisces, so you'd have to have something, I think it's around 5 or 6 degrees, or maybe it gets to later than that. But it's still, at the first decan of Pisces. I'm talking about Saturn here in Pisces. So you really have to have something around that sort of degree point to have some kind of direct interaction, right? But at some point, Saturn will be affecting all Virgos, whether it's your ascendant and or your sun. But we have Jupiter also, as I mentioned, in Taurus, which will be in your 9th house. And this can bring some really good luck for you, Virgo. So especially going back to the whole thing about publishing, you could wrap up the month as long as you take care of the details. And Virgo, you're all about the details. You could have some really good luck come your way with regards to that. You can also have good luck if you're tying up some kind of legal matter of some sort. That could get resolved nicely for you. Yeah. All right. Take care of yourself, Virgo. All right, Libra. So Libra, that full moon, intense eclipse in Scorpio is in your second house, putting the sun in your opposite house, which is the 8th house. And the 8th house is where more things are really happening. You know, the 8th house is then opposing the second house in your horoscope. And of course, that 8th house has Uranus in there. It's got Mercury retrograde at this eclipse. And at that same time, we've got the ruler of the eclipse, Pluto, going retrograde. So what should you do? Again, this is a money axis. The second house and 8th house. Well, first of all, in the natural zodiac, the second house is ruled by Taurus, and the 8th house is ruled by Scorpio. So it kind of reinforces the intensity in my mind of this eclipse. If it was me, I would certainly, now as I'm listening to this, I'm making this in April, just take a little gander at not only the money that you're making, that's really being highlighted here, but also take a look at your investments, your credit cards, your mortgages, any loans that you've applied for, any of the money that you share with other people. It does rule the psychological selves and deep relationships. So relationships are still in this mix as well for you, Libra. But the full moon itself happens in your second house. So there's going to be some Librans that decide to maybe leave a job. There's going to be other Librans that are notified they have not got a job. And for some Librans, this might be a good thing, where maybe you get some kind of recompense as a result of maybe a job being phased out. And that Libra, you're able to maybe do something that you really wanted to do, but you couldn't do it because you had to earn money. Well, now you're given a bunch of money to leave a job. Only some Librans will have this happen. And you can maybe start seeking out the job that you really want to do. It could have for others, maybe you're doing more than one job, Libra, and you decide one source of that income you're going to stop because you just can't do 2 jobs or 3 jobs. And there's a lot of people in this category. It could be, too, at that full moon, that things become so intense for you with regards to the money that you're making that you have to let some things go here. And that letting go may be a job. Now, because your 8th house is so much lit up at this time, too, I would say make sure you're checking all those things that I just mentioned that are 8th house. So it's all your kind of investments and money. There could be some misunderstanding here because we've got Mercury retrograde happening in that 8th house. And then, of course, the ruler of the 8th house, Pluto, going retrograde. I would say, take your power back here, Libra, with regards to any investments that you have. If there's anybody playing games, like mind games on you, that's the one thing I'm thinking here, because the 8th house is psychological house too. Don't let people play mind games with you, especially with regards to investments. Don't let somebody, put pressure on you because they're going to be somehow benefiting. And maybe it's, partners that are putting pressure on you to invest in something and you don't want to invest. Well, you make your own mind up what you want to do, Libra, here, but the setup here is not good. There could be some surprises that are not pleasant. So seek out advice and then make the right decision. All right, for the new moon, and it's just a new moon, in Taurus, that is in your 8th house. So maybe as a result of early on in the month figuring stuff out in your 8th house of investments, etc., you're able now to make a new start. And this is a good thing. You're going to have Jupiter then in that house too. Mercury will be going direct. Uranus will still be in there. I see this a more favorable time, Libra, if you've got to make investments or you want to make investments, or you need to make a new start in a very deep, serious relationship. Look to the new moon to do that. Maybe for some Librans, there was upsets in a partnership, a deep partnership, serious partnership at the eclipse. And maybe you felt at that time there's going to be no resolution. Not so fast, Libra. I would say that look to that new moon as some kind of new start with regards to those types of things. But it can also be a new start with regards to making money through investments, right? And any misunderstandings that you may have had are going to be cleared up, or at least have potential to be cleared up at this time. And because the 8th house is psychological house and Mercury can rule your thoughts, it just may have you clearing up some of your thoughts at this time in a more systematic way, in a more positive way, where you can see new starts here as opposed to maybe earlier on in the month where it all seemed doom and gloom. Take care, Libra. All right, Scorpio. So Scorpio, you know that this full moon eclipse is in your sign. Now, remember, Scorpio, when you're listening to this, you really have to have something around that 14-degree mark to have a real effect of some sort. And because, Scorpio can be very much a psychological sign, a lot of this can actually be happening in your head. But because there's so many other things that are happening, Mercury retrograde, the ruler goes retrograde too, that's Pluto. And that you've got the sun in your 7th house at that full moon eclipse. I would say the potential for things getting blown up or blown out of proportion, or you getting very passionate about things, are pretty high, especially with regards to potentially a partner. So a partner, in this case, may be very much affected by you, Scorpio. So I would just say, because it's a full moon, emotions are going to be heightened at this time, and in some cases maybe even explosive. I would say that if there's some misunderstandings going on in a partnership, take the time to tease out what those might be in a more systematic way, not an emotional way. Try to remove the emotion, Scorpio, if you can. Now, there may be some Scorpios that fall madly in love, and that's the emotion, the deep emotions, and overwhelming in some cases emotions, maybe even an obsessive type thing where you feel magically drawn to somebody because you've got the 7th house. I mean, at its best, you could have somebody turn up at this time. But more than likely, it will be some kind of, you're going to have to deal with some kind of upsets with regards to a partner. Now, it can be clients too. It doesn't have to be the marriage partner. It could be a business partner. It can be all 3 areas. Just have a lot of patience, Scorpio, is what I would say. Certainly, you have to feel your feelings. This would be an excellent time to seek out therapy of any sort. A psychologist would be great to consult at this time if you really are going through issues, say with a partner, or issues your partner has having issues with you. It's all okay. Just try to get some objective help here, especially if you really feel these emotions boiling up inside you. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to seek out people you trust to talk through how you're feeling at this time. Now, nicely, you are going to have Mars in Cancer trining your sign. So this could be bringing some positive energy to you with regards to maybe you nurturing people. And maybe that's part of the action that you need to take, Scorpio, is to be more nurturing. And maybe that nurturing is supposed to also apply to you. Are you nurturing yourself? Mars in Cancer asks you to, for sure. Right, so the new moon at 28 degrees of Taurus is in your 7th house of partnerships, business and marriage, clients, and the other. So any other that you deal with. We're going to have Mercury now direct in Taurus in your 7th house. Jupiter's now going to be there. The sun and moon are going to be there. And the sun and moon are going to be sextiling Neptune. And of course, Neptune in Pisces trines your sign. And of course, Saturn in Pisces trines your sign. So I see that new moon, Scorpio, look towards around the 19th of May. If there was a lot of upsets or just things that you had to handle, like emotional things, look to around that 19th to get some resolution, especially if a partnership is involved here or clients. You're going to get this clear understanding, clear communications with Mercury going direct. And possibly some good luck through an advisor or a teacher, because Jupiter now being in your 7th house speaks to teachers or advisors. But Jupiter can also bring in great luck and benefits coming from a potential marriage partner. So, on the 19th of May, your sights may see a marriage partner coming in at this time. It can also be, by the way, a great time to get married. Jupiter in the 7th house would be an awesome time to get married. All right, there'll be some reprieve for you, Scorpio, so don't worry. And of course, the south nodes will be out of your sign around the 17th of July this year, and they won't be back for another 18 to 20 years. So lots of things that you've probably had to let go of, Scorpio, in your life that will be a benefit to you long term. Take care, Scorpio. All right, Sagittarius, this full moon eclipse is in your 12th house. And because it's a full moon, we know that the sun is in the opposite sign, which is in the opposite house, which of course is your 6th house. And so I feel that because Scorpio is very much a psychological sign, and the 12th house is kind of a lot of things maybe inside our head. It's also things that we shove underneath the carpet. But, favorably, it's also the metaphysical world too, right? I think that this may bring up for some Sagittarians, a health crisis of some sort. Because the 6th house of health is involved, it can also bring up or shed some illumination on the day-to-day job. And it may do it, Sagittarius, in a way that is emotional for you. For others, Sagittarians, you may be asked to work behind the scenes, and you may find it quite intense, this working behind the scenes. It may even have, for some Sagittarians, working with a therapist. That would be the best way to use something like this eclipse, this powerful eclipse in the 12th house, is to use this for real headway in any kind of psychological progress. But it could have a health crisis here because you've got that opposite house of the 6th house. Or, as I said, it could also have some kind of crisis come up with regards to your day-to-day job. Now, of course, it's all personal, right? So your view of crises in your mind may in reality not be a crisis. It might be a great turning point. Remember, eclipses are there to really change things for you in a positive way, but they like to do it faster than normal. So things can happen unexpectedly at eclipses. And in this case, it will probably have something to do with your health. And it could be that something comes to light where you just have to shift something maybe in your head or get rid of some stuff that you've been shoving underneath the carpet to bring better health to yourself. It could also have other folks just deciding that they don't want to work in the job that they're working, that it's maybe causing them some psychological stress and not making them feel good. So for some Sagittarians, you may just decide, I don't want to do this job anymore. And you decide to leave it. You've got to be comfortable in the job that you're doing. You don't want to be under this constant stress all the time. Okay, let's move on to the new moon. So that new moon in Taurus is going to be in your 6th house. And I see this new moon as a very optimistic and just supportive, really supportive new moon. So certainly for those Sagittarians that have had any health problems, we're going to have the new moon there, so it's a new beginning. You're going to have Jupiter there. You're going to have Mercury now going direct. So maybe you had some kind of miscommunications regarding your health at the beginning of the month. And now things get cleared up. So I would say if that is the case for some Sagittarians, Ask questions. Keep asking questions. Maybe seek second advice and consults, right? Because certainly around the 19th of May, you could get some really good, beneficial, not only people coming in, but that the advice they're giving you could be excellent for your health. And just on more of a superficial level, it could also be a great time, Sagittarians, to make a new start with regards to your exercise, with regards to your nutrition, with regards to even your mental health as well, any aspect of your health. It's all very positive, though, with regards to things clearing up in any of those areas for you. And on the other hand, if it's your day-to-day job, this could bring in some real luck with regards to starting a new job. So look to the 19th for those Sagittarians that are wanting to get into a new job situations. Look to that new moon on the 19th of May as a potential new start here. You may just have some lucky turn of events that happen for you unexpectedly, because don't forget, we also have Uranus there too. Don't forget to get your resume out there, polish up that resume before and get it out there. Make sure it's, and if there's been any miscommunications, make sure you try clearing those up, because those will more easily be done, Sagittarians, at this time. Now, you do have Saturn squaring your sign. It also squares Gemini. And so this just really speaks to putting down new structures in your life, especially as it relates to your future, just may be a little more challenging. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It means working with rules. It means working with regulations. It may even, for some Sagittarians, have you dealing with people that, control those rules and regulations. And that's just an overarching thing. I'm not saying it's going to relate directly to any specific area. You could just have some challenges with regards to getting your future in place and having to follow rules and regulations, or that it's just a little harder to do at this time. Now, Saturn will only stay in Pisces for 2.5 to 3 years. And so it's just asking you to work hard, Sagittarius, to put an enduring future in place for yourself. Take care. All right, Capricorn. So the full moon eclipse in Scorpio is in your 11th house, and the sun is going to be in your 5th house. So this can bring up a number of things. It could be, for some Capricorns, that some friends that you've had forever leave your life at this time. Maybe they've got to move to a different state or even a different country. Groups that you belong to may, for some reason, fold. Or you could decide you want to leave some friends that you've had since childhood. You could decide the groups that you've belonged to you no longer want to belong to anymore, and you want to change that up. It also, for those folks that have their own business, it could bring in some kind of emotional crisis at this time with regards to the money that you're making. It doesn't mean it's going to be all bad. It just may mean that you're going to have to kind of roll with the punches with regards to whatever is brought up at this time. Scorpio is a money sign, just like Taurus is, the opposite sign to Scorpio. So I would say this could have to do, especially with folks that have their own business. There may be something brought up at this time that you've got to deal with, or maybe some ending. There may be some Capricorns that decide, you know what, I've had a good time running my own business, but I've got enough money, I've made enough money here, I want to start up a different business. Maybe even you want to work with partnership, and or some Capricorns may decide to go into the corporate world. That working on their own has taken its own toll, and then you're maybe being offered something, maybe more money even, and you decide to go into the corporate world and work for somebody else as opposed to your own business. Now, with the sun in the 5th house at this eclipse, the sun is illuminating areas like true love, it's children, it is your own business, it's creative projects. So straight off, for some Capricorns, you're going to be wrapping up some creative project here. And it might be very emotional for you. where you didn't realize how attached you were to it, and that it really affects you emotionally as you finish off this big creative project. Children could feature for some reason here. Maybe there's a bit of drama that goes around some of your children. Doesn't mean you can't resolve things, Capricorn. You're a very determined sign. Yeah. True love comes in with the 5th house as well. And so I would say that there may be some very deep passions and very deep emotions at this time. They may not all be necessarily pleasant for you, or they may be difficult for you to handle at this time. But not all is lost. I'm just saying around that eclipse, which is on the 5th of May, things may seem a little difficult for some Capricorns, especially from the true love standpoint. But wait till the 19th to get more resolution and a more clear understanding. Because that whole eclipse is eclipsed by that whole Mercury retrograde. And so that's going to be in there too. There's going to be you misread, you misunderstand maybe what your true love is saying to you. All that kind of thing misunderstandings can be big for you, Capricorn, especially as it relates to children and especially as it relates to true love. So if those do come up for you or for some Capricorns, just try to do your best to be patient. Try not to have a trigger-happy reaction, especially lashing out. And know that there is going to be resolution for you that will be successful around the 19th when we have the new moon in Taurus. That new moon in Taurus will trine your sign, and it's going to be in your 5th house, of which I just spoke about. So this is going to be new beginnings with what? With regards to true love, with regards to children. So this could be, for some Capricorns, if you want to get pregnant, this could be a time of getting pregnant, or even maybe the birth of a child as well. It can be the birth of a new business, your own business. It can be the birth of a new creative project. So let's just say at the full moon eclipse, you wrapped up a very emotionally felt creative project. And as a result of you having so much favor from those looking at that creative project, you're offered another one around the 19th of May, and you are very happy. You've got so many things supporting this, Capricorn. You have Jupiter now in your 5th house. Certainly, like I said, for those Capricorns looking to get pregnant, Jupiter can bring in expansion. And good luck for sure, right? Mercury will be going direct at the new moon as well, so you'll be able to clear up any misunderstandings. And those misunderstandings can also be in your head. That Scorpio eclipse could kind of scramble your brain to some extent because Scorpio does rule psychological matters. So that can all be cleared up at this time. Just keep asking questions, right? And if you need to clear things up, this is your opportunity to do it, is at the new moon itself. You nicely too, Capricorn, have Saturn that's in Pisces sextiling your sign. So at some point, Saturn will be sextiling either your moon, your ascendant, as two possibilities, or both in some cases. And that's going to bring in opportunities for bringing structure, longevity, and an enduring factor for you too. Saturn is a 30-year transit. So depending how old you are, you could subtract 30 years and ask yourself what was going on at that time, especially with regards to new structures being put in your life and maybe taking on new responsibilities as well. Take care, Capricorn. So Aquarius, both of these lunations form squares or challenges to you. And for you, the eclipse, the full moon eclipse is going to square your 10th house of career. And so that's going to be around the 5th of May. So this is a direct hit with regards to challenges in your career, your long-term goals. Maybe you're trying to, Aquarius, achieve something in your career and you're being blocked. And it could be quite an emotional time for you. It may even, for some Aquarians, be a bit of a crisis for you. Now, sometimes these crises can turn up, especially, say, in the career zone, where maybe you're in the wrong career and a big spotlight is shone on it, and you say, what am I even doing this for? So for some Aquarians, that will be the case. You're going to let go of a career because it's not serving you. Maybe it's making you feel psychologically not capable of doing the job. Maybe you have people working behind the scenes putting those messages out to you. It could also have some emotional element that stirs stuff up in you that you don't like. Certainly, we are going to have the ruler of Scorpio, Pluto. I mean, Cancer also, or Mars in Cancer. Mars also rules this as an ancient ruler, but the modern ruler is Pluto, and it is going to be going direct just a few days before this eclipse. So that doesn't support this in a positive way. I would say there could be some challenges from people in power with regards to your career and you wanting to achieve long-term goals. I would say take the high road as best you can. Scorpio is not a sign where you really, it's a karmic sign as well in some respects, where you want to be careful what you're putting out there. Don't do anything underhand or revenge type things. Don't go there, Aquarius, if you're thinking it. You may want to take revenge for what's happening to you, but try to seek out the high road because that new moon coming in, even though it's going to be also square, is going to provide more support for you. Certainly seek out expert advice regarding your career, okay? Just straight off. And if some Aquarians know in advance some of this stuff is coming down, maybe start taking some kind of, preemptive action of some sort, even if it's figuring stuff out. If you know something might be coming down for you regarding your career in May, do what you can to put some pieces of the puzzle together if you can, and be ready for something emotional to happen with regards to your career. It may just be that big promotion that you wanted at this time doesn't come through for you. And that's okay. Maybe you just need to do some more preparation, Aquarius. But be kind to yourself during this time and know that there are better days ahead, Aquarius, especially as we go into that 19th of May with the new moon, which now I'm going to speak about. So the new moon in Taurus will also be square you, and it's going to be to do with the 4th house. And so the 4th house is opposite to the 10th house, and it deals with your literal home, your childhood home, your mother, and by extension, your family, and also maybe the habits that you picked up as well. But this is a new moon in your home. So for some folks, it could have you buying a new home. And especially with Taurus there, Taurus is the master builder. It may be, for some Aquarians, a new opportunity to literally build your own home. Or maybe to add on to your home. Maybe you're going to be renovating your home. I'm just saying there's going to be challenges with the square. So for those Aquarians that are doing that, my advice would be consider really looking carefully at any contractor you're using. Maybe double check their references. What else could you do? In both cases, you're going to have to take either of these donations. You've got to take the high road here. I would say if it's something to do with your mother, say you've got to look after your mother. Maybe your mother has to come and live with you in your home now. I would, at its best, try to take advice from people who know how to do these things, who know how to make these transitions. Take advice from people that can really help you. And you know what? Maybe that square is going to ask you to lean on other people in the family. That's coming up very strong for me right now. Don't, Aquarius, feel you've got to do it all. If there's other members in the family, they may not want to, but maybe they have to. And maybe your challenge is to get them motivated to help you. In some cases, that's going to happen here. But yeah, you've got Mercury direct at that new moon. And it sextiles Saturn nicely. Pluto will still be retrograde, but that's okay. So I would say that you're going to have a chance, any miscommunications either from you or to you can be cleared up at that new moon on the 19th of May. So look forward to that. If you did speak out of turn for whatever reason at the eclipse where you lost your temper or something, this new moon has you, especially in the home, this will have you, being conciliatory and maybe even apologizing maybe to some family members that you blew up at or said the wrong thing to. For others, it could be you just clearing up. Maybe it's contracts to do with you buying this new home. I mean, it could be selling a home too, but it's a new moon. But it will have you straightening stuff out with regards to whatever maybe wasn't quite clear in terms of communications anyway. I'm thinking contracts here will get sorted out for some Aquarians with regards to the home. And of course, you've got Pluto, Aquarius, in your sign. Now, it is going retrograde, but it'll stay in Aquarius for the May, and then it'll back into just the last degree or so of Capricorn. But certainly by late 2024, 2025, Pluto will be ensconced in your sign, Aquarius. And eventually, Pluto, over the next 20 years, depending what degree your sun is at, or your ascendant, or both are at, Pluto will be requiring some transformation here. And it's not to be feared, because sometimes transformation can transform a life that wasn't so great into something absolutely wonderful, right? So don't go around fearing it. It will bring truth to the surface, though. And I mean, your sign also rules social media. So it may bring more of a focus of social media your way over the next 20 years, Aquarius, just as a heads up, right? Take care of yourself, Aquarius. So Pisces, this is nice. Both these lunations should work positively for you this month. We have the first one, the full moon eclipse that's going to be in Scorpio. It will be trine your sign because you're both water signs, right? And it's going to be in your 9th house that's affected. And then, of course, the opposite sign is where the sun will be. So the sun's in the 3rd house. The eclipse moon itself is going to be in the 9th house. So these have more to do with writing and publishing, generally speaking. Because the full moon is in the 9th house, for some Pisces, it could have you, if you've been living, say, overseas, this could have you deciding to end that relationship with overseas and maybe move back home. Now, you've got Mars in Cancer right now trining your sign. So it could be that you'll have some favorable energy to bring you back home. Cancer's about home. The other thing it can bring in for you is an ending of, if you're doing an advanced degree of some sort, this could be the wrap-up time. It'll be an emotional time, though. Scorpio is a very emotional sign. The 9th house can also rule travel. You could literally be wrapping up some big travel thing that you've done. And it's an emotional time for you that you really felt wherever you were has had an emotional effect on you, especially from a psychological standpoint. The 9th house also rules the law. So still for other Pisces, this could have you seeing the end of something to do with the law or a court case of some sort. But the 9th house is also about meaning in life and sort of our philosophies in that. So it could have some Pisces. I mean, Pisces, you've got Neptune and Saturn in your sign right now. It could have you doing an overhaul on both those areas. What did have meaning in your life doesn't have a meaning anymore for you. And the belief systems maybe that you had are going to go out the door at this eclipse, and you bring new ones in for yourself. New ones that the sun's going to be maybe lighting up, right? That 3rd house. And this could have to do with writing, communications. Maybe your siblings and neighbors will be brought more into the mix and help and assist you with that, putting down some new meaning in life and new belief systems and philosophies, right? But you've got good support. I really like the fact that Saturn's gone into your sign, Pisces. I really feel that for you, especially Pisces, it is bringing in structure where there were no structures. And I see it positively. Now, of course, Saturn can bring in new responsibilities, but that's okay. I don't think that's going to be a bad thing. It can also have you getting more serious about more esoteric things, more metaphysical things, maybe just your spirituality, right? Saturn will stay in your sign, Pisces, for the next few years, about 2.5 to 3 years, because it goes retrograde and forward and retrograde. But I see that as a positive thing, Saturn in Pisces in your sign. So now we look at the new moon. It is not an eclipse, but it is a new moon that is in Taurus at 28 degrees, and it's on the 19th of May. It will sextile your sign, and it'll be in the 3rd house. So this house is packed with lots of energy. It's packed with Uranus in there. It has Jupiter in there now, planet of good luck and benefits and expansion. It has Mercury now going direct. So this could be a time when, for some Pisces, you may literally be offered a writing project that comes out of the blue that you're thrilled about. This is a whole new start for you. For others, it could be a sales or commercial venture comes to light that unexpectedly comes your way and you're thrilled. For still others, you may have some new starts with regards to, say, your siblings. Maybe you had fallen out with your siblings, and this is a new start to bring them back into your life, right? But it could also have, for some Pisces, you having new opportunities to travel around, mostly short-term travel. This is more like in your state or in your city. That might become, for whatever reason, more part of your life at this time. And then with that Mercury going direct in there, it could have you, I'm getting this vision of some Pisces actually going around, traveling around, speaking, presenting things, that sort of thing. And Taurus is all about, it is about the land. It's about our bodies as well. It is about our value system. So, hey, if there's some Pisces out there that are going to be doing that, this will be a really good time for you to set up that in a positive way. If you're going out there to talk to people about valuing themselves, and it requires you to do some traveling, this could be a very positive thing for you. But I think mostly we're probably looking at some writing projects or communications, a new start in communication somehow. And I get this other idea that some Pisces may literally be writing something regarding gardening, because, Taurians have a green thumb, right? Or maybe even a commercial project to do with gardening or foodstuffs. Keep me posted. I love to hear about these things. Take care, Pisces. All right, Aries. So Aries last month was your real big month with that second lunation, right, in the eclipse. So this is going to be an interesting month for you, but more to do with your money and investments. So the full moon eclipse in Scorpio on the 5th of May will be in your 8th house. So this may bring, for some Aries that say are looking to retire, this is you deciding that you're going to retire. And what you're going to do is start using those investments, those pensions, to your advantage. And the only thing that could go with this is that it may be an intense time for you where you've got to sort out a lot more things that you did not realize. That could be up. Now, the 8th house also rules serious, deep relationships. So this could have, for some Aries, an ending of a deep relationship at this time. Now, eclipses can not only end something, especially a full moon, but it could also end a way of doing a serious partnership of some sort, deep relationship. But it's going to be an emotional time for you. The 8th house is also a psychological house. So you may also have things come up that you feel maybe even emotionally overwhelmed. You may feel it's a house of secrets too. So maybe some secrets, yours or others, will pop out at this time that cause you to be not alarmed. Well, maybe alarmed, but surprised and emotional about. There's no question. But a lot of it's also your psychological self. So you could have some psychological stuff stirred up here, Aries, is what I'm saying. And so I would say for you, certainly bring in your meditation practices. The metaphysical world could be great for you. And certainly the 8th house is the house of healing. So if you're listening to this advance prior to the eclipse, think about, are you utilizing those areas of your life? So we're talking about the metaphysical world and healing. Is there some psychological healing that has to go on here? Well, you may get the opportunity to have something like that come up, but it may come up as a result of a crisis or a secret coming out, or just some bubbling up of emotions. And as with all the signs, I've been certainly encouraging people to take the high road. This would be an excellent time for you to say, whoa, you know what? I need help here. I need to go to a therapist or psychologist to help me work out this internal thing, or maybe to work out some difficulties you're having in a deep relationship. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I've gone for therapy various times for various reasons and found it very effective and actually very psychologically freeing to know there's somebody that's an expert out there that can help me, right? There's nothing wrong with that at all. But it could bring an ending to some of your investments, maybe planned. This may be a planned thing that you do. Or ending maybe some joint resources with someone for whatever reason. All right, so when we look at that new moon, that is in Taurus at 28 degrees, and that's going to be on the 19th of May, it's going to be in your 2nd house. Well, the 2nd house is the income that you earn. It's your possessions. It's also the values you have, especially the value of yourself. So Aries, this is a new start for you. So for some Aries, you're going to be starting a new job and earning a new source of income. It could be for some others taking on some new possessions. Maybe you've had the opportunity, maybe that full moon eclipse brought in something akin to an inheritance. And you are now able to use that money to buy some of the things that you've wanted to buy. You've got Jupiter in the 2nd house, so there's good luck here. For others, you're just going to have a wonderful advisor, maybe a mentor, that helps you get a job. We'll have Mercury direct at this time too, Aries. And so any misunderstandings that may have come up at, say, the eclipse on the 5th, or around the 5th of May, this is your time to clear them up. But I think also, this may also have you decide that the job that you're doing is not valuing you. And it becomes patently clear that you need to make a new start. Use Jupiter in that house to help you. So this is mentors, this is beneficial people, this is teachers, all people in that category. Leverage their knowledge to get a new job. Maybe they can give you some new advice, give you some training of some sort that helps you, that helps other people see your value. So there may be part of that dynamic going on, that you don't think people are recognizing your value. Well, maybe you've got to do a little bit of learning, or maybe a course or two that changes the whole trajectory. And that enables you to earn a lot more money than you've been earning before, because you're being seen as a more valuable person. And with the Mercury direct, if you are going for interviews or anything like that, Aries, that's a perfect time to do it around the 19th, if you can. It'll be excellent for you. Now, Pluto will be retrograde at that full moon eclipse that I mentioned at the beginning of this video with you. And of course, Pluto rules the 8th house, and it is in your 8th house. So I would say take extra precaution here with regards to anything to do with investments and money. There could be a turn of events of some sort with that whole Pluto going retrograde at that eclipse at the beginning of the month. It doesn't mean everything's going to go wrong or bad for you. I just see that as potentially someone in power advising you and maybe not giving you good advice. I would double check and triple check all my investments, and any investments that you may be making in May, I would do a double check on that. The 8th house can also be a very intuitive house. So maybe your intuition is going to be working at an all-time high here, Aries. Listen to it. Yeah. So Pluto, as you know, is going retrograde, but it will eventually go direct again and eventually stay in Aquarius, certainly towards the end of 2024, and mostly, and more importantly, starting in 2025. Pluto will be in Aquarius. Now listen, this sextiles your sign. So you could expect, depending what you have in Aries, and I'm talking about the moon, the sun, well, maybe the moon, the sun and the ascendant, you're going to have this opportunity type energy coming from Pluto, opportunity for transformation. So I think that's something, and this is a once in a lifetime, right? I think it's 248 years of some sort that Pluto takes to go around the sun, or maybe it's a little bit more. Anyway, it's a once in a lifetime transit, and you're going to get Pluto affecting you positively, certainly from starting in 2025 for sure. But of course, it's going to start around the 1 degree mark, and there's 30 degrees in every sign. So you would have to consult an ephemeris. You can always go to an astrologer, of course, and consult with them to see when you're going to get the exact sextile happening with you, either your sun or your ascendant. But hey, that's going to be like positive, transformational, taking your power back type of energy for you, Aries. So that's a really positive thing for you, for sure. All right. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention to you was two things. Jupiter will be coming up to, let me just look this up for you. I've got my ephemeris with me. Jupiter will, in Aries, will be conjunct that 29 degree mark where your eclipse was, right? That beautiful eclipse that you had in April. But let me just look up when Jupiter, so I'm looking up now, Jupiter at around 29 degrees of Aries, because that's going to ping that eclipse again. And that's going to be around, I'll just give you some days. It is the 13th through the 16th of May 2023. Lucky Jupiter will be conjuncting that eclipse point of 29 degrees of Aries. Those days could be very lucky for you, specifically Aries. And if you do have something around that 29 degrees of Aries, super lucky. Great benefits, great opportunities coming in for you, lucky people coming in for you. And the last thing that you have happening, which will be around the 17th or so of July, you will have the transiting north nodes of the moon conjunct that eclipse point as well. So that's another turning point for you. Mark those on your calendar, especially if you've got something around the 29 degrees mark. But, it could generalize generally to all Aries. So that's something lucky for you and something to look forward to. Take care of yourself, Aries. Bye for now. All right, everyone. I hope everything works out with your money and your investments in this month of May. They will be highlighted, generally speaking. Sending everybody lots of love. I'd like to hear from everybody, of course. And if you want your chart done, I love doing astrology. All my contact info is below. And I look forward to hearing from you. So the next time you're going to hear from me is probably in June. Another fabulous month with so much going on in Leo. Take care of yourself, everybody, and bye for now.